As I look through the news this evening, enjoying a little bit of Lagavulin 16, I see this article come up again. U.S. generals downplay call for more hardened aircraft shelters in the Pacific Theater. United States Air Force pushback on new hardened infrastructure comes as emphasis grows on being able to fight from bases while under attack. I am not clear that I fully understand why there's a reluctance to physically harden aircraft shelters in the Pacific specifically. You have an enemy, a potential enemy in China, armed with thousands of missiles. Thousands of missiles. And our defensive missile shield, although somewhat effective, is only as effective as your ammunition supply. And I'm very concerned that we are putting ourselves in a very dangerous position. In this article, they go through a number of issues on why the Air Force says they don't want to harden Pacific assets. The first one is dispersion. They want to be able to disperse their fleet of aircraft to multiple fields throughout the Pacific. If Guam comes under attack, or Okinawa, they want to be able to disperse their aircraft to multiple bases in the Pacific. Tinian's North Field, that's Guam's North Field, just got rehabilitated. Tinian's Field has just been opened up, as we've followed on this channel, and Peleliu has been opened up. There's multiple dispersion airfields throughout the Pacific now. But that still doesn't quite... Why don't you want to harden these places? I'm going to give you a couple examples of why I think hardening aircraft shelters is vitally important. This is from Ukraine. This is an ATACMS strike. This is firefighters going to the scene of an ATACMS strike. We're just going to rewind that real quick. When an ATACMS releases its cluster munitions directly in front of them. This is an attack on an airfield from Ukraine into the Crimea. And the ATACMS clearly used, as you can see from the multiple video angles of this, cluster munitions on an airbase. The reason you would use cluster munitions on an airbase is because aircraft are just parked without hardened shelters. This is more from Ukraine. This is an Iskander cluster munition strike. This one isn't the cluster munition strike. This is the direct missile strike. This is clearly not a hardened shelter. But as you can see, it's an airburst above. A hardened shelter might have survived that. They'll show it again. As you can see, that's an Iskander with an airburst. This is an Iskander strike.
Ukrainian troops and destroying 5 Su-27 fighter jets, Russian telegram channels reported. The Russian channels have shared the video footage of the attack on the airfield. According to the reports, Russian army also damaged 2 units of Su-27 fighters that were under repair in the airfield in central eastern part of Ukraine. Ukrainian.
As you can see, a cluster munition was used. And whatever was in that area is in serious trouble, if not damaged or worse.
Telegram channels reported that for almost 3 hours, Orlan-10 unmanned aerial vehicle hung over the city at an
That is a wide destruction dispersion. Very wide. We're going to go on to another one. In this one, same situation. Cluster munition. Looks like you also have some decoys. And then a secondary. And you saw one burst directly next to that aircraft. The point of this is that not every single thing is going to be a 2,000-pound bomb. And I bring that up because of this, the final part of this article. I'm not a fan of hardening infrastructure. General Kenneth Wilsbach said at a roundtable at the Air Force Space Association's main annual symposium in 2023. The reason is because of the advent of precision-guided weapons. You saw what we did to the Iraqi Air Force and their hardened air shelters. They're not so hard when you put a 2,000-pound bomb through the roof. Everything's not going to be a 2,000-pound laser-guided bomb coming through a steel-reinforced concrete roof. A lot of it is going to be cluster munitions dropped by missile. And when it comes to cluster munitions, had this cluster munition hit hardened aircraft shelters, all those aircraft would roll right out. Had an Iskander hit a singular target, like what we watched previously, right here, of a single airburst, being an airburst, perhaps the shelter survives. It would have to directly strike it, perhaps. My point is, hardening aircraft shelters would be incredibly advantageous to U.S. forces. It would save American equipment. Most importantly, it would save American lives. You'd be able to continue to operate and function while under fire. A single missile destroying a single hardened aircraft revetment or shelter destroys a single aircraft, not the two next to it. A cluster munition doesn't penetrate a hardened aircraft shelter, and everything functions normally. I don't personally see reasons why you wouldn't want to harden every aircraft shelter you possibly could. It literally makes no sense to me. I don't understand. If somebody can tell me why it makes sense, other than dispersion, but I don't understand why you can't disperse to other hardened airfields and aircraft shelters. I just don't get it. I guess I'm ignorant, and I'm perfectly willing to be called ignorant. But I just don't get it. Why the United States will not invest in hardened aircraft shelters for its state-of-the-art billion-dollar aircraft that it wants to station throughout the Pacific. Makes no sense. It makes 0 sense. Especially with an enemy armed with thousands of missiles. It makes no sense whatsoever. Seems like hubris to me. Arrogance and hubris. Look what we did to the Iraqis. Uh-huh. Look what you did to the Iraqis. I'm just going to point out one thing in this article before we go. Where is it? I'm bringing it up here. Here it is. This is a satellite image showing 16 new aircraft shelters under construction at something Airbase in northeastern China in 2022. The Chinese are hardening their aircraft shelters. It's like they expect something. Maybe they don't want a Tomahawk flying over and dropping a bunch of submunitions on them. Maybe they don't want a Taiwanese ATACMS coming in and dropping a bunch of submunitions on them. You know, because that does happen. It's not like I got video proof of it or anything. I don't speak Russian, but I'm pretty sure that holy shit translates into any language. That's all I got. I appreciate you.